This is where we're at. I'm not far away from the last place I journaled at. And it's $6.60 to camp near here. So I'm thinking about just staying here for a while because it seems like there's a lot of really cool places to find. I've only gone down a few of the tracks. This is like one of the most picturesque, beautiful waterfall locations ever. And there's heaps of fish, like big fish, all swimming around the people down there. There's been a few places like that where the fish just come right up to you and like chew on all your dead skin off your feet, and it shocks people, surprises people, makes you go, whoa! It's pretty funny. I'm pretty proud of myself climbing up these cliffs. Ego. Man. I got some shots on, I got my DJI Pocket on me. I got some shots from, like, climbed up here. Could probably do it again. I shouldn't risk it. But I climbed up there and filmed from all up there. This is all the way down. Whoa. It looks way more scary than it is. I'm just sitting in the shade. So this is what it's all about too. I like the contentment that I was talking about in an earlier journal, where you just, this beautiful place, you're just sitting in the water, but I also like when you find a place like this where you can physically challenge yourself. And I always say, like, Mother Nature is my gym, because like this is probably a better workout than you'll get at the gym, but you don't even feel like you're working because you're having fun playing. Old mate's climbing up the waterfall down there. This is how you get fit and healthy, man. Because, yeah, you're just actually doing shit that's real. It's the illusion that's getting everybody. It seems that simple to me right now. It just seems like you got to get out of all the fake stuff and get in the real world. Get out of the, like, social media is the big one. We're all trying to create an image of ourselves, and I'm guilty of that as well to the max because I'm still doing it right now. But like putting less and less emphasis on this, and also my message is to get off your screen and do more of this stuff for yourself. But I was thinking as well, it might be a good time to talk about, like, the whole world right now. It just seems like a big mess, and there's so much distortion and craziness, and no one knows what's real anymore. So I feel like we have a responsibility to focus on what's real and stop bullshitting each other, and most importantly, stop bullshitting ourselves, because there's too much bullshit going on in the world. There's layers and layers of distortion coming from every angle. And then there's people that are feeding the distortion and feeding off the distortion because they know that when you're confused, you're easy to influence and manipulate and make money out of. And money's like the center of all of it. Like, advertising is how I make money off these videos and the content that I make. And, you know, the famous thing, if the product's free, then you are the product. It's true, man. Everyone's just trying to get your attention so they can make $1. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, like, because there's all this truth coming out as well through all the distortion. The distortion's amplified because there's so much truth out there, and people are trying to cover their tracks, cover their asses, because there's so much corruption in the world, and it's being revealed because information is just spreading so quickly in this technological age that we're in, that before anybody can cover their tracks, it's already spread through like so many people. But it happens with false information as well, and distorted information. which is, I don't know, it's each and every one of our responsibility to do our own inquiry and ask our own questions and get to the bottom of reality for ourselves. But yeah, I guess my big thing is not contributing to the bullshit. Don't bullshit yourself. Don't bullshit each other. Don't try to be all woo-woo and mysterious anymore. Like, don't try to, capitalize on this uncertainty. Capitalize on everybody not knowing what's going on. Like, don't pretend like you know what's going on. None of us know what's going on. And like, that goes both ways. People that are out there talking shit about reality or talking shit about how the world's working or like what we've got to do. It also goes for the consumers of the content. Like, don't just take on other people's shit. Like, other people have come to their own conclusions. Like, even the best people that are actually really just trying to help. Even me. Like, people who are just trying to share their experiences and they're trying not to bullshit themselves and they're trying not to bullshit everybody else. They're still a human being on a journey and they're still just figuring it all out. And there's nobody on the planet that's figured it all out. And I know that's a big call to make, but I've met people who have figured a lot out and I've spent time with them. And they've opened my eyes a lot to how full of shit I am, because I have been running around acting like I know what I'm doing. And, you know, that's another one of those famous things that everybody's heard, but no one really can trace it back to the source. You know, the more you learn, the less you know. The more that you learn about reality, the more you realize you actually don't know anything about reality. And that's why so many of you are getting floored by psychedelics, because psychedelics do that in one day. You'll realize that there's a whole other dimension of reality, or dimensions of reality, that you didn't even know were there. So that's what's going on with that. But even that, I was like naive, running around playing with those tools as well. And now, like, I understand a lot more about that, and it's like, I don't know, it's still valuable that I took those risks and I went on those journeys, and I can share my experiences and my knowledge with other people. But I'm not other people. Like, you're yourself, and you might want to do things differently. Like, no one's going to repeat the exact same things. We can make mistakes and we can caution others, but we can't tell anybody how to live their lives, because everybody's experience of reality is so unique and different. Even like that's such a huge thing, but like, people don't even realize how big it can be. Like, you know, sometimes you'll be talking to a bunch of mates and you'll be like, I guarantee you that this has come up. If you're a deep thinker and you've got a circle of friends who talk about reasonably philosophical type stuff, like, how do I know that when I say that color's blue and you agree with me that that color's blue, that we're both seeing the same color blue? That's just the tip of the iceberg of like how differently we can see reality. Because I would go deeper and say, like, how do we primarily get our information about reality? We know, or we believe, that we all share the 5 senses of touch, taste, sight, smell, and hearing. But like, an example of an imaginative exercise to create an example in your own imagination of what I mean is like, what if I take in more information about reality through my sense of smell, and you take in more information about reality through your visual field, and then somebody else takes in more information about reality through their hearing, and then there's other senses that they don't have names for, and they're all jumbling up through the filter that we call the mind, that's like creating the actual experience that we're having, we believe, or some of us believe. Like, what if, like, there's other senses that, like, we're just going to say that's smell because we don't really know what that is. Like, I have a thing like that. And yeah, we're all just trying to fit ourselves into like the same shape of being, but it's impossible, because the uniqueness and the originality of each and every one of us is actually so much greater than we realize, until you start actually looking at yourself and understanding yourself, and then looking around at others and really observing the way that each of your peers are like navigating this thing that we call life, you know? So that's why I think we've got to stop bullshitting each other, because we've got to get real, because whatever this thing is, right, we're evolving, or we always are. We're always growing, we're always learning, we're always changing as a species. And if like an individual account of awakening is anything to go by, there's a very fine line between what we would call awakening and what we would call like psychosis or madness. So if we're going through that collectively, we cannot afford to be fucking around with that, because that's how you end up in the psychosis side, when you're like not taking the journey seriously, and you just think, like, you're just rolling the dice and you're gambling with your reality, you're gambling with your mind, and that's when you're going to have an experience that is just not going to, and it's going to just not make sense to you. You're going to lose yourself in it. And then collectively, imagine what that would be like if we all just didn't take this responsibility of awakening seriously, or we tried to avoid it. A lot of people are trying to avoid it, but that usually comes around. Avoiding it and running away from it is healthier than gambling with it and fucking around and distorting it, because guarantee you, like, for every distortion that you add to reality, it'll be 10 times harder to remove that distortion than to put it there. And distortions, I just mean like just making shit up about the world, and then just like forgetting that you made it up and believing it and putting that in your belief system. You know, we all have this web of beliefs, and it's all interconnected about how reality works, and it's incomprehensible how dense that web of beliefs would be. And you to pull that whole thing apart, you've been creating it for a lifetime, so it would take a lifetime to pull it apart. So you don't want to just be throwing bullshit in there. You don't want to just be accepting everything as fact, or, you know, not actually taking a good hard look at the information that's coming in. And, you know, because reality has reached a point, for like the way that the world is now. There's just so much distortion and so much deception, and maybe it's all just me. Maybe it's all just my own experience right now, but that's what I see in the world, and I see people getting lost in it. I do. And if you really think about it, you'll see it too. Like, people just like want answers, and they'll just accept the first answer that comes to them, instead of going through the hard task of like trying to figure out what they want to figure out. But the answers are all out there. But also, that's another good reason to get away from your screen and get to a place like this, because the first thing you're going to realize when you start spending time out in nature is a lot of the questions are the distortion. It is the bullshit. The way that society is framing everything is what makes you go down these rabbit holes that lead nowhere, or lead you to insanity, or lead you to questioning yourself and doubting yourself, and depression, anxiety, trauma, psychosis, like losing your shit because nothing makes sense. It's because it's just, there's so much noise and bullshit and nonsense in the modern world, and we're not spending enough time in the real world, which is just simply where I am right now. Like, not in my head. If you look at what's outside, like the waterfall and the people swimming and the cold water, the sunshine, the breeze, the plants, like what's really here, what's really happening, what's our relationship to that? None of this headspace shit. Good place to have that kind of insight. I think I'm actually going to go for a swim now with these guys.